Hey, what did y'all make? This is so crazy. What did y'all make of Nick Saban? Reportedly from legitimate outlets, reportedly voting Alabama number two in the country to finish up the 2022 season. I mean, that takes some balls, man. I mean, that is like, and I'm not here to argue. Well, for two things. Number one, it's his vote, right? Number two, I don't know, man. I mean, like that's really going there in my mind. I mean, you voted so Nick's spouse. So here's what Kirby Smart went with to close his season. Now, all of these votes from the coaches poll are made public. The final polls are made public um, at the end of the season. And I don't know if y'all remember this or not, but I think Dabo voted like Ohio State number eight before they played them in the playoff game. Before Clemson played them in the playoff game, it got smoked. And you know, Ohio State was using that as motivation, as we've seen from Kirby's speech over the weekend. These guys will use anything, as even those things not based in reality, to use for motivation. But Kirby went this way with his ballot, which I think probably would have come close to doing myself. I would have had Ohio State higher, but anyway, uh, Kirby went Georgia, TCU at two, Michigan at three, Ohio State at four, Tennessee at five, and then Alabama at six. Now, if you're Kirby, you probably are saying, "Hey, Georgia and TCU are the one and two; they have to be up there." So we're going to go one and two with them, and then that leaves us Michigan, Ohio State. They just played, so I'm going to go Michigan. And then he closes with Tennessee, Alabama, who, I mean, I guess he's going to argue, um, Tennessee beat Alabama, so that's what I'm going to go with. I don't mind that thinking. I mean, you have to put somebody somewhere. I mean, that's kind of the problem. For Nick though, Nick goes now. I'm going to a little bit make Nick's argument for him here, but I don't know that I can really go for it. Nick goes Georgia, then Alabama. I think they are contractually obligated to vote the number one, the team that wins the national championship. I think they are contractually obligated to vote Georgia number one because they won it. And so then Nick goes Alabama at two, TCU at three, Michigan at four, Ohio State five, and then the Vols at six. Now, both Kirby and Nick agree that Ohio State should not be in front of the Michigan Wolverines. But anyway, let's make sure you're aware. You get double dogs today. You're going to get confetti with it. I am warning you that I'm going to run out here sometime very soon. So if you're seeing this and you want the book, because a lot of y'all are going to order it one way or the other, get yourself the confetti now. Um, I'm almost certain that in February that will not be possible. I wonder next week if I will have any remaining, but I can assure you we're getting close to the cutoff line as far as my math is working. Pick up double dogs today. A lot of people are picking it up every single day, which means they're getting in front of you in line. Pick that up today. Like the whole year, and a lot of people are still picking up dog instruction. The only reason I mention it right now is, um, you know, I wonder what Nick did last year too. Did he have Alabama at two as well a season ago? He should have in that case. I just don't know that you can make that argument in a being intellectually honest kind of way. I mean, here's Georgia, the undefeated team, no team within one game of them except Michigan. Of course, Michigan didn't play for the national championship, so every team that was ranked this season had not fewer than two losses, with the exception of Michigan. Obviously, TCU beat Michigan, so you can't really vote Michigan in front of TCU, right? In the AP poll, uh, the numbers match. Everybody had Alabama as the 5 and Tennessee 6. What I mean by that is the coaches poll and the Associated Press both finished with Alabama as the 5 and Tennessee as the 6. Kirby didn't have it that way, so I'm sure Nick will figure out how to use that as motivation in the near future. But it was with the exception of the number 10 team in the country, the AP and the coaches went straight down the line. Georgia, TCU, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, Penn State, UW, Tulane at number 9, and then the media had Utah at 10. The coaches had Florida State at 10, and then they flopped them for 11. So I just don't know what the justification, if you're Nick Saban, is for voting your team number 2 when, the best win they have this season, I guess, is over Kansas State, the number 14 team in the country. Um, Tennessee straight up beat you. Obviously, Georgia won the national championship. TCU, much like you, didn't win their division or didn't win their conference, but they got to the college football playoff and won a game. Michigan, Ohio State, to me, they don't have to be in front of Alabama, but neither of them entered the postseason with 2 losses. Ohio State ate a loss to the Dogs. I just it's a curious statement from Nick about where he felt like his team was. Now I'll tell you, Alabama coming into 23 is going to have some changes. All of these teams, when you look at the top, let's just say the top, uh, I don't know, 6 teams. Penn State's got changes too, but you look at Georgia, obviously losing Stetson Bennett and a lot of other guys, not as much turnover as the 22 season, the 21 going into 22, but plenty of turnover. TCU's losing a lot of their high level skill. Michigan has got a lot back. I mean, you could make the argument that Michigan should be the number 1 team in the country coming into 2023. Ohio State, obviously losing C.J. Stroud is going to really hurt. He played at quarterback as well as anybody not named Bryce Young over the last 5 years against the Dogs. I mean, Alabama's going to lose Bryce Young, Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, they've got losses, Alabama, and it's there's Bryce Young made them go so much in 2022 that I'm going to have to see how they move forward because this is a different time for Alabama, y'all. They are not as gifted as they once were. They're not. And you can play this on a loop if you want. It's the truth. And that will lead to some changes. It remains to be seen if they're going to replace both of their coordinators. So it could be a transition year for Alabama, but they're certainly not bad. Tennessee, if Hendon Hooker was as good as everyone said, same thing goes for Stetson and C.J. Stroud. If Hendon Hooker was as good as everyone said, then it has to be that they're taking a slight step backwards at Tennessee. But we're going to see what the Vols do. I mean, Josh Heupel's done a really, really good job there. Penn State, they're going to have turnover at quarterback. Washington is a school that's going to have, or they're returning a very good quarterback, and had a really good season. They just got their brains kicked in by Oregon, as I recall, and that kind of sidetracked them for a little bit. Oh, we've already moved to the 23 schedules I see here. The Pac-12 still has not released their schedule. Yeah, so UCLA got a hold of, it was not Oregon, I stand corrected, it was UCLA that UW could not hang around with, and then they lost at Arizona State, which was just a bizarre Pac-12 situation. But Washington, Michigan, these are teams that are going to be players in all of this. USC is not ranked very high, but there's a lot going on at USC in terms of forward momentum. And then now we're at the stage where do you start talking about LSU and Clemson? Clemson's got some, Clemson's got changes, and some of them they needed. Now we're going to see if they react to them. LSU, a good close to the year, got stomped by Georgia. Um, an inexplicable loss to Texas A&M to close the season, and then they look like they could be good in the near future. But looking backwards, I'm not sure that I agree that Alabama was the number 2 team in the country. If you were the number 2 team in the country, you handle business against LSU. You handle business, you know, against Tennessee, a game that they should have won more than the LSU game for sure. But for all of this talk of, Alabama only lost by, yeah, they could have been 8-4 too, though. So let's chill that shit out while we're at it. They were what they were about to be. They were really, really good. They won the Sugar Bowl. I'm not sure I'd put them at number 2 in the country.